Hi all. Okay, still here with DD at Saipan. I guess this might well be part 25. Um, Come home from work the day, pretty tired, but have a little bit of time. Not a heck of a lot, but just wondered what to do. And yeah, I thought I might as well just keep things ticking over, sort the rest. I haven't adjusted all these units. Um, At first, I sat down thinking, will I try and move some of these? Because I kind of rushed it at the end because I was running out of time. Didn't think we were going to move on. I'm not going to do any of that, which might means that we could possibly have 2 or 3 units moved a little further on. Like, this guy here, for instance, we we possibly should be, making a move with him because he's got a free move. He's adjacent to that. Same with that LVT. But I mean, I have done that close combat. I mean, I dare say I could backtrack a little bit and do this because has that got anything to do with the close combat? Well, you could say if you hadn't got the close combat, you wouldn't have got the points that we think we've got to carry on the game. Well, I suppose you could say that, but you can see that if I had more time, I would maybe make these moves. So I might glance through it, and yeah, just looking at that there, I think it's a bit silly not to try and make a move of him. That's assuming, yeah, see, he's not in any. To be honest, I could actually get him up here adjacent, I think, because that would be 1.5, and then no, we couldn't. Again, because of this leaving the field of fire. Okay, right. Well, I'll decide. I'm going to pause and show you maybe what, because I was going to start turning these units round. At first, I started looking. I thought, right, because I do want to move these HQs if I can, because there's no point having them. The battalion HQs need to be within 2 hexes of this, and then any unit from the battalion needs to be within 3 hexes of them. So, but if I can move these, now it looks like this one's alright, but I'm hunting about saying there's 124, there's 224, and I thought, is that it? And then I looked up the book and I found, no, there's 324. And then I looked down here, I thought, I've not landed them. But I eventually came to the realization that I hadn't landed them because there was nowhere to land. I left them in the water, didn't I? So, so I might adjust that, and then of course we've got disruption. Well, I looked at this stack of units is disrupted here. However, they're in the intensive field of fire, so I can't remove the disruption of them from that. Now, while we're looking at that again, I'm just about to upload part 23, I think it is, or is it 22? No, maybe I think 22's up already. Yeah, 23. And I finally come to the realisation, which I'm sure a lot of you have probably noticed, that this isn't hill terrain. And I was thinking about it because I thought, well, it's got a contour, but then I remembered that rough terrain is on level 2, hill terrain is on level 3. And when you look at the colour of this, it clearly looks more like rough than it does. It clearly looks more grey than it does brown, like the hills. So this is actually rough terrain. So this attack in here, now I thought I was going to then get away with it again. However, rough terrain gives 1.5 strength to the unit, not whereas hill terrain gives 2 times strength. So I actually looked back in the footage and we had 7 strength. And of course, we thought it was 4, 7 against 4. We knocked that down to 3 to 2, so we revealed the depth marker. And then when I realised that, I thought this was 2 times, it'd be 7 against 8, which is less than 1 to 1. So I don't even think we would have revealed the depth marker there, would we? If it was 8. Because we'd be 1 to 2, so it would have a AD/R, which is all US units in hex when the most steps is disrupted. Do not count disrupted units, and then we would reveal the depth marker. So that would have been worse. However, it was rough terrain gives 1.5 times the strength. Sorry, just to the unit. So it would have been 6. So it would have been 7 against 6, which is 1 to 1, so that's still a reveal of the depth marker. However, when we revealed that, we would have been 7 against 9, which is, my guess, 1 to 2. And with the unit revealed and the depth marker revealed, that's no effect. So, kind of, well, it's no effect, and the thing is, we decided it was disrupted. And I think, well, yellow position did turn up next Japanese fire phase, because that's the reason it got undisrupted. So they would have fired again. But what I'm going to allow myself is, because I did forget about I didn't read the event, and the Japanese disruption removal when it was only 2 units. I'm going to like I say, it probably doesn't balance out. These units are probably in a slightly worse state than they could have been, but that's the best I can do now without restarting the game. That's the best I can do with that situation. So yeah, just going to leave that as is. Couple other quick things. Yeah, Martin had commented when I was just struggling to get my head around this movement and what these +1s were all about. +1s for woods and other terrain in the hex. So what Martin said is, if you had a clear hex but it was in the woods, you would get 1 +1. I mean, that's right. I mean, if you had rough terrain, which is 1 leg movement, but it had woods in it. But the thing is, Martin asked this question already about, if you look at hexes and they've got 2 types of terrain, what do you class them as? Because some of them maybe go. Where's one that's maybe, see that one there, for instance, just got a little bit of woods in it. Where it's mainly rough. So I mean, do you class that as rough or woods? Because if we're moving through it as rough, it'd be 1 point. Whereas if we're moving through it as woods, it's got the +1. So, yeah, and there's where Martin's comment about the +1 makes sense, because it's rough terrain, but it's got woods in it. So, but you take the woods as being the more extreme. But then maybe that's why they've got the +1 to say that it would normally be 1 to go into this, but because there's woods in it, it's a +1. Yeah, I can only assume it's something like that. I don't know. It's not. Maybe this is just a me thing. It might well be. But there's a couple other bits in it. What's the bit about the buildings that we came across, and then I don't know. It just seems all a bit much for what is needed. I don't know. There is lots of different terrain though, so maybe I don't know. I feel like it maybe could have been clearer. But and then he gave the example of was it mountain terrain, which cost 2 movement, but if you had woods in a mountain terrain, you would add the +1 for going through the woods. So I suppose that some of that's sort of sinking in. And he also said that he felt the same as me, that if you're going along by a road or a railroad, you would just use the 1 movement. So again, if we were on this railroad, if we were coming from here to here, it would only be 1 point, Whereas if we were moving from this woods hex into this mainly rough hex, it would be 1 into the rough. However, it would be the +1 because we've got woods in the hex. So it would be 2 to move from there to there. However, it would only be 1 to move from there to there, because it's going by the railroad. And same with roads. And we've got to just assume that one as well. But and I just went away and asked the question there, and it was a kind of... actually, while I was reading things over, I thought it was worth a sort of double part question, and just realised that at the end and added a bit on. And it was what I've been wanting to know for a while. If we've got have I got one? There's one there that's been eliminated. If I've got this LVT here, and I move it from here to here, it's moving along the road, it costs 1 movement point. Even for an AFV, moving along a road is 1. Now, if it's moving along a railroad, it's +1. So again, that would be the other terrain in the hex. So let's just say this was here. It'd be 1 to go along the railroad, and then for an AFV into sugarcane, its cost is 1. So that's not a plus, that one though. So no, hang on, that does say +1 for the railroad. Yeah, so I kind of think going along that railroad it would cost that too. But I'm not 100% sure. Whereas if it was a leg unit, it would only be 1 because it's on the railroad. But it does say +1 for railroads. However, if this is on a road, it's just the 1. I mean, there's some logic in that. I suppose if this unit's moving along terrain that's got railroads in it, whereas you could say that the infantry are getting carried, well, not necessarily just carried by rail, but it's maybe just easy terrain to walk along as a road is, you know, it's kind of similar, whereas rails would make this a bit rough terrain. Anyway, so there's that. But however, my question was, we're moving along the road, everything's fine, so I go 1, and then I'm going along the road, and then I go into this hex, which is still along the road. However, enters the railroad. And reading that +1 attached to the railroad gets me thinking that I think maybe the answer's going to come back that you do still have to do that breakdown check for that. You know, it's just you would think as you're coming along the road, you're not really. Thing is, if there's a road and a railroad in there and you're coming along with a vehicle, you're not going to go over the railroad, are you? You're going to stay on the road. So, I don't know. So my question was, do you still check for breakdown? Now, I know I don't check for breakdown if I go from here to here, but do I check for breakdown if I go from this road into this road that's got the railroad? I don't know. And the other half of the question was, if you look at the rules about terrain and AFV breakdowns, and it talks about AFV breakdowns, listed on the terrain chart as AFVs, but it starts Rule 7.3.7, terrain and AFV breakdowns, on page 16. Its first paragraph is, certain terrain types may cause vehicle breakdowns when entered by US AFVs. For purposes of this rule, tank units are different than any type of LVT or LVTA unit. So it says tank units are different. And then after that, there's no mention of a tank. And in the terrain key and movement effects chart, there is no mention of a tank. However, it still says AFV. So the second part of my question is, hold on. That's not the case then. Hang on. There is the word tank here on the chart. For the 2 asterisks, it says draw 1 card for each tank unit and 2 cards for each LVT unit. So again, I'm a muddle there about, is that the only one? Is it the only one that affects tanks is the 2 asterisks one, which is moving into, what is it? 2 asterisks. Come on, where are you? Swamp. So is that the only one that affects tanks? Is it moving into swamp? Maybe. Well, anyway, the other part of my question is this breakdown? Is breakdowns only applicable to LVTs and LVTAs? Looks to me like it might be maybe just apart from the swamp, because that's the only bit that talks about a tank. But then there's a lot of talk about AFV. You know, if no type of AFV listed, if type of AFV listed, and if you look for the listings of the AFVs, not one mentions tank. They either mention LVT or they mention nothing. So, yeah. Anyway, that was the other part to that question. So, a couple of other things that came to my mind. When I'm transporting an infantry unit, now these are probably daft questions, and I think they are daft questions. No, and I was going to put them out as questions, or I was going to add them to my videos, and then I thought, no, they seem daft enough, but I'll just mention them here. If I was transporting even an infantry unit here, right, and I moved it, you know, and we had nice bit of movement, but then we chose to, you know, unmount it there. Would the infantry unit still have any movement points? Would it have a fresh amount of movement points? My thinking is no. My thinking is that once the move's done with that, you know, the infantry is... But you can see where I'm kind of getting at. I mean, it's getting transported by this. Once they dismount. You know, and I don't know, I think it says... I think the dismount part... I think Joe kind of got asked something about that. They can dismount at the end of movement. So that maybe sort of covers it by saying, well, you've ended your movement, you dismount your infantry, you know, they've not got movement left. However, if this was to move and break down, and it had moved, you know, 1, 2, 3, it used 3 movement points. Or remember, when we're coming along road, you can go, you can go unlimited to a certain extent. Not here, because Japanese units, but anyway, it spent some movement, it breaks down there. Now, it talks about in the rules that if you break down, any mounted infantry being carried by an LVT may dismount in an undisrupted state. So your infantry then dismounts. Does it have movement points? Yeah. I think it's a daft question, and I think the answer is no. Stop being stupid, Grant, but it was something that cropped up. And what was the other one? The other daft thought I had. Yeah, that was it. When you do a barrage, and I'm not talking about a tank barrage, because I understand the tank barrage has to come from a tank. And of course, there's mention in the rules about tank and artillery units, which there's no such thing in this game. It's artillery points. So if it was an artillery unit, I would expect the artillery unit to be the one that was doing the action. And if you weren't, well, maybe different with artillery, because I think they've got to be in command to be able to do it. Whereas a tank is not so restricted that way, does it? Actually, all attacking tank units are in command. It says there. I guess maybe that makes my question not worthy, my silly question not worthy. Because naval gunfire, airstrike... No, at least one attacking infantry. See, we're looking at a bit of attack. Well, my question is, if I'm able to do a naval or airfire strike, naval gunfire or airfire strike, does it cost an action in any way? Because that's what I've done it 2 or 3 times now, and then afterwards I thought, right, okay, I know I used the point of the track, but who carried out the action? We've got somebody to look. You know, we've got an infantry that's in its field of fire, isn't it? What does it say? 1. See, it says 1. No. This is attacking. Where's the barrage bit then? It talks about give me a sec. This is a bit I lost before, where it tells you you've got to be sitting in the field of fire. Where is that? I had this before, didn't I? Come on. It tells you need to be in the field of fire to be doing that, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. I'm just going to leave it for now. But I guess it felt like it was a daft question again, because I know about tank barrage. That's the same as older games. And to be honest, artillery barrage was kind of harder than the other games, wasn't it? You had to be... It may have developed through the games right enough, but you were using a unit to carry out the action, whereas this airstrike and naval gunfire, you know, it's maybe not. It's maybe not something, and maybe clearly says in the rules anyway. And again, it wasn't something I was going to ask a question. I just thought I'd bring it up. Okay. And Martin was asking, yeah, I pointed him out to it. He got me wondering though, and I was hoping it was because of redeployment. He wondered how this unit was here because the start of the map, the starting situation would not have had a unit in this hex. However, it redeployed from there to there, and it was getting closer by 1 hex, I think, to its nearest unit. So, yeah, that was that. Well, it took me a while to hunt that down, but I thought, oh right, if I've got I thought I maybe put a unit in the wrong place or whatever, but I think I'm okay with that one anyway. Right, I'll just come and have a look at these, and you know, if I feel like I want to move something, I'll put the camera on and show you. And yeah, I'm doing things a little bit out of turn because this should have happened before we finished off this the deliberate coast combat, but I was just pushed for time and wasn't sure I was going to carry on my things anyway, and I'm still not sure. There's units everywhere. I'm not sure what's that, but I didn't feel like starting anything new today, and I come up there and this was still on the table and I hadn't moved the units, so I thought I might as well tidy things up, and then we'll see. I part of me doesn't want to give up on this. That's 24 parts of this I've done. I mean, most of the parts have been at least an hour and a half, some of them a couple of hours long, so we've put quite a bit into it already, so, part of me wants to keep it going, yeah, anyway, okay, I've seen something nice and simple, and I'll try and do this. I'll just try and put the camera on after I've looked for things. The 25th Regimental HQ, there's 3rd Battalion of 25th Regiment, there's 2nd Battalion of 25th. I'm only looking for the HQs. Yeah, I suppose if I can move the HQ though, I should probably try, yeah. My guess is most of these units are going to be in there, and they've got a longer range. They've got a range of 3, haven't they? I don't see any 25. That's 225. So my guess is 325 must be in there. But 125 is in here. So at the moment, this regimental HQ does not reach 225. So it makes complete sense for me to move that into there. And I don't think there's any issues with moving. Not, remember they can't do movement under fire on their own. So, hang on, Grant. If you've got other units you might want to move though. Well, that's from 325. Right, you said you were going to pause the camera. Right, you know what? I'm going to just leave them. They're all from 325. So I'm going to move that to there. No, you can't do that until you've moved. Because you were talking about moving this. Right, let me think here. Yeah, okay, couple of bits. It's annoying. I can't reach up there with that, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move them into there, I think. And then this guy, I thought about trying to get him in there, but I can't. So I'm going to move him 1.5 into there. And then just to cover this hex, another 1.5 into there. And he's beside his buddies, really. And then, well, we've got this LVTA as well, Grant. Do we want to maybe move that? So there one. Nah, I can't. Yeah. I could put that with this guy actually. I think. Yeah, because it was one. Remember, there one movement into the sugar cane, so that'd be 1, and then 2. Unfortunately, again, he'd be leaving the green steady, so it's an extra point. So I'll just put him beside there. And I think I'm just leaving this. Yeah, I think I'm just leaving this. So now, well, what we got under there, did I say I was just going to leave this as well? This is 325, part of that. Yeah, starting to see how these LVTs would really help. Because obviously you can move through 2 of these hexes if you had... Well, in fact, you could potentially move 1, 2, 3 maybe if you had an LVT, because it's only 1 movement point through each. Where, and then you've got to watch for fields of fire. And I mean, if I went 1.5 into there, then I've got to an extra 1 to move to there. Whereas an LVT, I would have 1. And then it would cost me 1 to leave that, so I would still be able to move into there, But it's strange how they're going away now anyway. LVTs are getting killed off, so... yeah, kind of odd that... Obviously, that's for the first part of the game, and, You know, is there something to be said that we might eventually get an answer that is this line? I still don't think so, but curious to, you know, I'd love to be a fly in the wall on some of the games that they played while, you know, testing this out and whatever, just to see. You know, I'd love to have, like, yeah, had a look at that. Because maybe they were doing things totally wrong. Okay, I keep thinking about what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to move these. That's along the road into here, and I'm going to move the headquarters with that, I suppose. Now the other guy from 325. Well, there's one in here, I think. Yeah, and then the other guy is disrupted under here. So that's all going to be in range. These, well, that's the 325 guy. Well, why not move him in there as well, Grant? And then you've got the whole lot together. He's got a step loss. Yeah, see, he was with an LVT, like we were just talking about. Why not make the use of that before it goes? Well, that would be 1, 2. So how could I not have went 1.5, 3 though, Grant? You've just got to keep thinking about the different battalions though. You know, I mean, I've got 125 coming up here now. Should I move that up there? Because 125 was the main battalion that was making this attack. I mean, we've got the depth marker away from that now, but however, we still need... I know there's a tank there, so I'm going to leave... Well, they attacked anyway, but... Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to stack this underneath this, I think. Because that the LVT is going away, but I could have put it to use there. Right there for this last wee shot, I suppose. Like, I'm not going to bother with that. And then I'm finally going to make that move. Right, so, sorry about that. I couldn't hit the pause button. I tried it 2 or 3 times and my phone kept ringing, of course. I was trying to cut it off. Okay, so I think I'll just leave things like that. That's it. The main parts are that's within 2, that's within 2, and where's the other one? Was he stacked with it, isn't he? Yeah. So that's all good there. And then the 24 one, I think, is fine where he is because that's within 2, that's within 2. And then this one's not landed yet. So we'll land that next turn. Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter about moving that out because that doesn't affect stacking, does it? But I can't really move that without probably movement under fire anyway. So I'm going to leave that. Can't undisrupt that because it's in intense fire adjacent to an undisrupted Japanese unit. It looks like I can undisrupt this though. Oh, hang on, is that? Yeah, that is tilted. Was that right? It didn't quite look right. Why would that have been? How could that have got disrupted then? Okay, I'm not sure how it's been disrupted in this turn, but it is shown on the thing as if I can't do anything about it. Right, but I can remove disruption from this, and I'm not going to bother start turning them because this is me. Well, mind you, Grant, you're not. I'm just about to have to give up because I've run out a bit of time. No, I can. Yeah, because he's not got a depth marker. That was the one. He's disrupted, but it was when he had the depth marker, so I'm going to remove disruption from that as well. And, well, that'll be the same for this guy as well. that he had done something. Yeah, okay. So that's that wee section done. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can. Why would that be? Disrupted. Was it when landing? No. It must have been in the action phase. I can't remember how that works out. What is it? Oh, God knows. I'm sure there's a decent reason for it anyway, but hadn't moved this. And I can't remove the disruption from that because he's adjacent to that. And intense field of fire. Right, okay. But I think that's that little section done there. And then I'm going to move up and do a bit of this. But I'm kind of, short on time there. That took longer. And I had a big phone call there as well, which interfered behind. So, but to be honest, I'll have a bit of time tomorrow night as well. And I don't want to start anything new yet, so I just like to finish this off. Well, that's 31 minutes, so hopefully I can come back tomorrow and add another 40 minutes. Maybe I won't even take that, maybe half an hour. Well, you know me, it may be 40, 50 minutes. Just to tidy all this up. And again, still delaying a little bit in case we get some more things back, and I'm going to upload part 23 just shortly, and then I've got part 24. Obviously I can that'll probably be up by tomorrow sometime as well, and if there's any comments I can add them to this will be part 25, and still not sure what I'm doing, but yeah, and you might not even see this, but if I decide that part 24 was enough, let's just get out of here. Okay, but this won't be the end of the part though, if you do see it. I will add more on in that. But I'll be back tomorrow sometime. Okay, cheers. Hi all. Right, this is going to be the second part of part 25. Right, a few things to talk about actually. Quite a few things. Bit of a development as well. With some questions for the designer. I'll get to that. A couple of points. I don't know if I mentioned this one. I don't actually know where this position was, to be honest. Well, that's not clever, Grant. Hang on. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if I mentioned this or not, because I've got in my notes and it was part 23, so kind of figures that I might have done. It's when we attacked this purple position. I got units here, but I used, my guess is it's that guy on top actually, yeah, because he's the only one that's had an action, to range fire into there as well. Well, purple doesn't fire into there, so I was like, watching it back, hoping I was going to catch it, and I did not catch it. Fortunately, the results were, well, in fact, can't you give yourself that unit back then, really, Grant? Because I couldn't have attacked with that. Well, however, he's not actually got an action left anyway, so it doesn't make no odds. I took the action markers off. I'm not sure. I think we'd use. Well, you know what? That must have cost an yeah, that probably cost an action to do it. Yeah, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. The results were the same. We still got the same result. We had plenty of strength. So yeah, I'm not going to delve too much into these. Now, yeah, the other one's just down here, and this was in part 24. Again, I've got the wrong terrain here. Thinking these are on hills. I mean, it's definitely more the grey colour. I mean, that looks a bit more. I think this is the one that I seen at first, and I thought, well, okay, that's on a hill, but although it is a contour rising up a little bit, it's just rough terrain in the hex. It's not hill, because the hills are more brown. That's a grey colour. So I'm pretty sure that is rough terrain. So I done the attack here, and we ended up with one of these again. I'm going to get a bit in about them as well. Now, What did, right, I must have added this. Right, hang on. Which gives a 1.5 strength, whereas I gave it a 2 times strength because I thought it was on a hill. And I've said that the result would have been slightly different, so I was going to try and fix it if I was going to carry on. Right, let me just double check the numbers then. Okay, let's just double checking back what happened there. We had 21 strength, and we had a. My thinking was it was 21 to 8, and we had a depth marker here. And obviously the result that we've had, if it was 21 to 8, was only 21 to 8. Could that not have been 3 to 2 though, Grant? I don't know. I'd have to see 3 to 2. $21 to 8. 8 would be 16. I need 24. No, I need 24 to get a 3 to 1, wouldn't I? So does that not work out at 3 to 2 then? Maybe? I'm not sure how to work them out. I don't know how to work that one out, guys. I mean, I know I'm a bit daft when it comes to stuff like this, but 3 to 2. So hang on, what was I trying to do? 21 to, well, hang on. 3 to 2, 21 divided by 3 is 9. Does that help me? So that would be 9. Is that 9 to 2? Oh, you know what? I can't work that out. I mean, I understand that 3 to 2, but how do I break it down? Maybe somebody can give me a simple way of working that out. Because you've got 1 to 3 the other way as well. Well, I suppose if it's not 1 to 1 and it's not 2 to 1, if it's somewhere in between, then it's got to be 3 to 2 then, has it? Is it as simple as that? So we got 21 to 8. I mean, bear in mind, this is not the result, so I don't know why I'm bothering. 21 to 8 as... Oh no, what am I talking about? It's 2 to 1 anyway, isn't it? Right, I'm talking rubbish here. I think that's the way you would do it though, because if it wasn't 2 to 1 and it wasn't 1 to 1, then it had to be 3 to 2. Or did it? Well, that's not necessarily the case, because if it was just below 3 to 2, it would go down to 1 to 1. Wouldn't it? I think. Yeah, well, I don't even need to be looking at the 3 to 2 bit, because it was 2 to 1. Because 3 to 2 is a worse result. Yeah, okay. I'm talking rubbish. So, however, it was not 2 to 1 either, because the result was, it wasn't 21 to 8, because this has only got 1.5, so it's 21 to 6. So this is maybe where it takes it to the, well no, this takes it to 3 to 1. Yeah, so 21 to 6, 6, 12, 18 is 3 to 1. So we actually had Japanese unit and unrevealed depth marker, and we had the weapons, didn't we? Japanese unit and unrevealed depth marker, yeah. So the 2 to 1 result was JX, which was eliminated the depth markers, which is what I'd done. However, the actual result should have been JDX, which is all Japanese units disrupted, depth marker eliminated. Oh, that's even better. I thought I was going to have to find another depth marker. Oh no, hang on. We didn't see the depth marker. No, you don't need to with that result, Grant. Yeah, that's a good thing about the way they do it now. It feels like it's harder in some ways, but if you get the weapons and get the 3 to 1 result, the depth marker's gone and the unit's disrupted. So, yeah, in actual fact, we are getting disruption there then as well. As well as eliminating that depth marker, we're getting disruption. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Right, let's move on. Right, so that was all that was on my phone as reminders. Right, a couple of points Martin's picked up. This is from... Was this from 20... I don't know what this one. Well, this was only from part 19. Talking about these reserves coming in. Martin says, I'm starting to wonder if the idea is to simply place all the game turn 3 units on the map at the start of the turn. They probably just forgot to include that fact in the rule book. I think he's got a point there. Because where is it? Must be placed closest to US unit in A positions first, then D, next place in the lowest position number. Must be placed to US units in C position first, then B. So, and it does make more sense, and I'll tell you why. Although I guess it's actually possible that this unit, because this unit is in a C position, so it might well have cropped up there, maybe. Because it does say that with some of them. Well, the elite ones, must be placed closest to US unit in A positions first, then D. So to be honest, that's not really the case. The A and the D positions are way up there. Well, there's A positions there. There's A12. So, you know, the likes of them, if they had all been empty, it might have been going in the likes of this hex. Now, we've been going in face down. Well, there's a D position. So, and, you know, my answer was, yeah, this could be a possibility. And the fact that I've now drawn 2 4-strength elite units from the reinforced action where they maybe should be deployed further inland has kind of hurt. Certainly a question to ask for the list, which we'll get to in a minute. So yeah. So maybe more reason to sort of say we kind of get, well, you know, let us just get away with that one that we kind of messed up with it being in the rough terrain. Well, when we eventually realised it was rough rather than a hill, we went through all that procedure. So we'll maybe just leave these units as they are, and obviously that one that I've just disrupted, that's another 4 elite, and he probably shouldn't be as close in as that, you know. They should probably be deployed further inland. So I think Martin's got something there, because it does seem wrong just to mix them in the bunch. The rules just don't really explain it. Anyway, we're getting around to trying to get answers to these questions, and again, get around in a minute. He talks about the units that are landing, and he says, I'm sure you discovered that there are even more 2nd Division units entering on the 4th Division beaches. And yes, indeed, we've got these ones here. And I remember commenting on that. And this was after seeing that the 2 or 3 tanks coming in. So we're not quite sure what that's all about, because when they land and when they're in game turn 5, they're like out of command. Their command is over the other side. So we're not quite sure if this is intentional or if there's a way around about it. We're trying to get answers to that too. I say, yeah, eventually realise this, which does make you think it must be intended to be played out, something like you say, which is, he says, I guess they'll just have to camp there on the beach until you've cleared a fit and a point, which, I don't know, is that sort of in the middle there, or I don't know if it's got a name there or no, or Martin's just being clever about his what's the word? His location of the area. His what's the word? Geography. That's what I was thinking of the area. Okay. Right, and this one. This is about my disruption, my reading of the disruption removal rule. So let me just go through this quickly, hopefully. Right, so he says you're reading it wrong. I don't think he's actually telling me that I'm stupid because I'm reading it wrong. I don't think so anyway, Martin, but maybe. Maybe. No, I don't think so. He says you can always do something with a disrupted unit. And he's saying that read that part of 7.6 as, and he gives me how to read it. And we're talking about this. The important note that says units adjacent to a Japanese position and in an intense field of fire, and then this is the bit he starts from, containing undisrupted Japanese units or depth markers cannot recover from disruption. Right. Now, I could see where he's saying I'm reading it wrong, and I might be getting it wrong, whereas he maybe reads it in a different way. My thinking is how he's reading this is containing undisrupted Japanese or depth markers. They've got to be undisrupted. Yeah, that's right. So when we've got a disrupted Japanese unit, but it's already got a depth marker, we've been counting that as this works, because I was reading it as it either contains undisrupted Japanese units or it contains depth markers. So maybe I am reading it wrong. English isn't a big thing for me as well, as you probably all know. There's not an awful lot going for me, is there? Anyway, hang on, right, sorry. Yeah, well, anyway, sorry, distraction there. Anyway, whether it's me that's reading it wrong or it's not written terribly, I mean, I don't think it's clear to me that's what it means. But then it does make some sense, because it did baffle me that you couldn't see me. There was a point where you couldn't do anything with a disrupted unit, which felt wrong. So he's saying how this should be read as containing undisrupted Japanese units or an undisrupted Japanese depth marker. And I'm thinking at first, how can you get that? But he says the latter can only happen via the caves event. Clearly this is yet another case where they simply copy pasted from Iwo Jima, where it is more common with positions with only depth markers. So right, so I had a wee look into the caves part, and caves can come out as an event, I think, and they can also have depth markers. So I think this is what he's meaning, and the caves kind of counts as a unit, I think. So the caves can have depth. So my reply to him was, because I wasn't 100% clear, I said, I thought I must have something wrong when you say, I said, when you say undisrupted Japanese depth marker, do you mean that a depth marker can be disrupted with a cave, or is it that the cave with depth marker can be disrupted, and this is where the reference comes from? Again, though, it's poorly worded. Well, in my opinion, it is. Maybe that's clearer to others. That could just be a Grant thing, I guess, but well, I totally read it that way, so there you go. So I'm not quite sure. He didn't give me any more on that, whether he's not noticed that, just to confirm. But it makes some sense. So what that means is, when this guy had a depth marker and he was disrupted, we could have removed our disruption round here. So yeah. However, if it's in intense fire and adjacent and it's not it's undisrupted, like these units are under here, then they cannot. However, they can still potentially make a preservation move, and I might just quickly revisit that, because that's got steady. The only thing being is I'm going to have to make I don't know what's actually in there, because I would have to make a movement under fire into yellow and blue, but this is a steady yellow and blue hex, so to be honest, it's slightly safer hex than this. But if they made it safely into there, they'd be sitting disrupted still, so. But they wouldn't be in an intense fire, so anyway, right. And then there was a couple more points. That was, what happened there? Give me a sec. Yeah, and we'll just stay in this area, because, and I'm going to now have to re-disrupt these units or do something else with them, because I went through all this attack on this, and I counted it as 2 times strength, but it was a pillbox and it was 3 times. So I'm pretty sure the result was the same. It was just remove the depth marker, right? I'm not going to go back and look. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm just going to remove the disruption. So he's not disrupted, which then also has that knock-on effect of, I'm not sure if it was both these units or what units, they would not have been able to undisrupt. So I need to double check on that, because they're both sitting in intense red. Now they would be able to preservation move. So I'll just go back and check that, I think. Yeah, and that was the one last comment I just had from him just recently was regarding the latest part 24. And this is a good point as well. Well, actually, there's nothing to look at, but it was the CC on the unit. And then if you remember, the unit was 2 detachment, so a joint unit of 2 units. and a depth marker, it was disrupted. Now, the bottom unit of the 2 units, and when I'm calling them two detachments, the bottom detachment had the CC on it. The top detachment did not, and then the depth marker had a CC. And what Martin says was he would have ignored the CC from the bottom detachment and only given the Japanese 4 cards. And I thought about it first, and I thought, no, 5 cards. And then I thought, no, he's right, because when the 2 detachments are together, you ignore the bottom detachment's weapon requirements, don't you? So if I was attacking it, I would ignore that. However, I would still have to obey the CC requirement from the depth marker. So I gave him the extra card for having an extra CC, and I probably shouldn't. And yeah, I agree with that. We shouldn't have done that. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's right with that. It makes sense. So that was that. Okay, I was just looking back in the units. It wasn't this hex actually. It was this that was disrupted. So I would not have been able to remove disruption. So let me just turn him around now, because I might do the preservation move. Actually I might not be able to. Well, I probably could into there. And it was also this guy that wouldn't have been able to remove disruption. Now, I cannot move him because that's red and 10s, that's red and 10s. So I definitely cannot move him. So he is staying down the bottom there, disrupted. I don't think there's anything we could have got from that. Sorry, going again. So yeah, so he is staying disrupted. That wee engineer guy was alright. Now, can we move that? Well, yeah, no, it's a free move, isn't it? A preservation move. So I can't preservation move into there. Right, it's 25. It probably wants to go that way. I could move it from there to there. I can't move it into there, but I could move it from there to there, but I'd need to take a check. It's just a steady green, and this is the one that kind of baffles me a little bit. We had this move already with a star, did we not? Or was it in landing? No, I think it was just in the movement. That's when we went into CC, wasn't it? Because if I move from there to there and we draw a card, we're checking steady movement under fire. So steady infiltration fire, if you like. And that requires a symbol. Well, the symbol in this unit is a star. So I don't know how that works. And I mean, I know HQs can't make the move themselves, but I mean, these infantry battalion HQs I think can, and I would have certainly thought heavy weapons units could. Oh, right. Page 14, 7.3.3, movement under fire and infiltration fire. Regimental HQs, which I knew, and infantry HQs may not attempt a movement under fire on their own, but may move with a regular unit attempting movement under fire. So it wasn't. Well, I don't know if that was classed as movement under fire, because we were moving into the hex to CC, but we were moving in with an infantry battalion HQ on its own. So I'm not sure if that counted or not then. You would think I'd still be able to move into CC, but well, maybe not. Because we did a check for that and we didn't get a result. Now Martin would have seen that one. He never made any comment on that. But remember, I drew a card thinking, well, how am I going to find a star? However, there's no mention about heavy weapons units not doing it. So I don't see why I can't do that. So I think rather than sitting in that red position, I'm going to have made that move. Now, I'll still be disrupted. Well, I mean, I would have took the disruption off, but let's just put that on like that. Right, so that's the disrupted. Right. Well, actually, I better leave it like that, because we've still got things that are still lying about, not quite finished yet. Okay. And yeah, and that was based on that. Okay, and this one couldn't be undisrupted. Right. Okay. Right. Where am I at now? Well, I mean, technically, I suppose I should draw a card for that. I just don't know how you can get the result. Now, if it's intense fire, I draw green. If I draw green, the unit takes a hit and stays where it is. However, all I can think here is draw green and there's a star on the card. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. There we go. Right, I drew green, but I mean, it's a green triangle. If the star had been within the green, I mean, I don't think that's how you look at these cards. Or if the star had been in any one of them, would that have done something to it? This is all me making things up, really, isn't it? So, I don't know how that works. Let me know how that works, guys. I have found out that infantry battalion HQs cannot do that on their own, though. So, maybe wasn't aware of that. But there's nothing I can see that says a heavy weapons unit can't do it on its own. It might be there though, but you think it'd be in the same bit. Okay. Right, okay. Right, however, that's kind of huge to now know that that's how that works. So that might help. And that's something I've been doing. I've been getting a bit wrong. But it looks like there's a few things that are out of place. Should these units be here? You know, I missed a few terrain type things. There's lots of questions out there, and that's what brings me to what I'm going to talk about next. Just briefly, you know, the victory conditions. We still don't know anything. Well, I got a message from Joe on BGG. Sorry, and that's without a drink as well. And I got a message from Joe saying that what he proposed was that I gather up all the questions that we've got that we want a kind of answer to, and he can spend a day or so long going through them all together and give it more time and whatever, and then compile, you know, his answers to us back. And so because he hasn't, there's been a few questions getting popped out there and he's not been answering them. And he was also saying about taking down the questions that I put up. Well, some of them I put up, Martin's commented on as well. I don't like deleting a post if somebody else has commented on it. But I think there was one there that nobody had said anything to, so I brought that one back down. But so I said, okay, fair enough, that sounds good. So I kind of thought that Martin might have got a similar message. So I spoke to Martin, and unfortunately he hadn't. But I mean, I guess Joe's maybe been going by my playthrough and whatever, and maybe he's been looking at that and seeing some questions coming up or whatever. But I mean, Martin's probably got a lot more questions than me, and he probably can go about asking these questions better. Anyway, I contacted Martin. He hadn't been, so he said what he would do is put his questions together that he thought, and I was kind of hoping he would just do it because he's probably better at all that stuff than me. So he sent me the PDF with all the questions in it, and I looked over them, and to be honest, he'd added all the questions that I'd asked to. I don't really think there was anything left there. I know there's going to be other things that are going to crop up, and he also said there was some things that he left out because he didn't want to bombard them with too much stuff. There was more the important questions that we needed answers to, you know, like about what is the scenario, where is the victory point, what is the victory point line to check, you know what I mean, what's other things, how do we deploy these reserves, there's lots of questions. I mean, I want to say 15 or so questions, maybe more, 15 to 20 questions that he put together. So I said I'd have a look at it and then maybe add some of my own and whatever, but it was all structured very nicely, and I didn't see the need to mess about with it. So, and like I say, he seemed to contain all my questions as well. So I've sent that away to Joe. So I mean, it might take him maybe a few days to come back with that because it will take a little bit of time to look through, but that maybe gives him a bit of time. I have asked him to try his best to like make it as detailed a response as he can and make it clear, so that we're not going to look at it and say, yeah, but, you know, and then have a big list of follow-up questions, because there's not really a point in that if he's not going to. You know, yes, some answers will require a yes or a no. Yeah, but probably the majority of them will need a little more information to make us comfortable with what we're reading and not have to scratch our head and say, yeah, okay, I get that, but how does that work? You know. So yeah, so that's been done, which is encouraging me to sort of hang around here. Like I say, I'm not really sure where I'm going next anyway. I'm kind of in the middle here doing stuff, and then I've got, like I say, friends up next weekend, so not really sure what I want to do. So yeah, so I'm just going to mess about with this just now, and we'll see what comes back from this bunch of questions. I'm sure there's some other things I've got to talk about, but I want to get this moving because that's another half hour, and this part's going to be a bit of a... there needs to be some comments in the beginning of the header of this part because it's a bit of a mishmash, really. Okay, I'm just going to pause and start and mess about with some more units here, and we'll get this all tidied up. I won't be starting a new turn. There's a few things to look up about how turn 5 starts. There's some things that I remember saying to myself, right, that might catch me out. One of them that springs to mind, right, I think all Japanese units get undisrupted. I could be wrong with that, but I think because this is the PM game turn, isn't it? This is the end of the PM game turn, and there's some other things that happen as well. Once you move on to game turn 5, I think. Now I'm not sure if they happen at the moment or not. Well, hang on, they're on the end of turn phase. At the end of a PM game turn, if a Japanese position that is in communication is empty and a US unit is adjacent, I remember looking at that saying, right, I need to watch for that. Did I watch for it? No, I didn't. Well, you could maybe do something about that right now, Grant. Is that cheeky? Not really. Not really. I know that I've done this close combat, and I know that I shouldn't be moving units, but I don't see the harm in this. I'm pretty sure you'd be okay about that. And the reason I'm actually talking about this unit here, and just realising, however, I can't move that into there anyway. Well, hang on though. I could move that engineer into there. Because this is actually moving from steady red. Because at first I thought about the tank. And obviously the tank wouldn't be able to move in there because it's an intense red. But it's disrupted. But then I realised this is steady red, so I can actually just remove the disruption of this tank. I'm jumping about here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove that tank's disruption. However, I might just have a cheeky wee move with that engineer into there. Because we'd be doing a steady fire check. Because just reading that part there, that's an empty Japanese position that is in communication, has got US units adjacent. So that would get a reserve. And you know what? Looking around the map, right? Just glancing over the map, that is the only position that we get. That was weird, just as I was looking at that as well. That's the only one I think I can see that we've left empty that's adjacent. So I'm going to have a go at that. Now we might get hit here, but we're only going to get hit on a red triangle. Because this is steady fire we're moving from. Now we're moving in a more dangerous hex, so... I mean, that LVTA could make that move too, to be honest. Am I not better just doing that then? Because that wouldn't be a check at all, would it? Oh, good one, Grant. Damn. Oh, that was right clumsy because I don't know. I know the LVTA was full strength, and obviously that's that. I don't know if that was on that side or if it might have taken 2 step losses. I do know they're in that hex, so you better mark the hex, Grant. Oh, for goodness sake. I'm going to have to find out about this now. It had made a move. Had it possibly attacked the position? I mean, I'm pretty sure it was on its full strength side, but I can't be 100% sure. Right, I just got a wee bit of video footage and I noticed I could see it was a 2 on the end, so that means it must have been on that side, right? So, going to leave that there. Like, rather than do that check, then, you know what? I'm just going to move that LVT A into there. You would have got a free move from that. And it's just while noticing that, because they would have put a reserve in there. So, okay, is there any more stuff here? We've got tanks. Right, pause, Grant. Right, I think these tanks actually down here, I can't see that making any moves. No. Yeah, we undisrupted that guy. That was in there, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right, Grant. And he was able to undisrupt because he was sitting in steady red, not intense. We didn't actually move that, but actually that would have. Oh no, it wouldn't have been an action. No. Yeah, in here we've got disruption in here, which I think I'm just going to remove rather than doing in fancy way. Let's not make any blunders here, Grant. Okay, so that's undisrupted. I don't know if that had a move or not. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to leave the other stuff lying about. I know I could possibly have moved some of this stuff, but really we left it. I know, I should have taken better care, I know. Right, have I moved that then? That seems like a blunder, was it not? Why have I moved that? Because that's the 23rd. And it's in range of that, it's in range of that, it is not in range of that. So I had wanted to move that. I remember talking about moving it and wanting to get it either here or here if I could. So why is that tilted? Have I just done it to sort of... I'm pretty sure it was there to start with. Well, that's kind of weird. That is the 23rd, isn't it? Yeah. There was that and something sitting like that, and there was some counter underneath that had not been moved. So I must have made a mess. I'm going to maybe assume that guy had moved, right? But we definitely wanted to try and move this if we could. So can we get that to one of these hexes, and then we will then be able to command each one of the HQs. Well, we can't move adjacent to that. This is disrupted though, so we could move into that, but that's 2 movement points because it's woods. And it's not via a road. We're not going to be able to do that, are we? I'm right in saying I cannot move through into that. I can't, can I? Because that would only be 1 movement point. But I think when you move adjacent to a unit, even if it's disrupted, you have to stop. Yeah, 7.3.1 movement limitations. Number 3, the unit enters a hex adjacent to a Japanese unit, even if that unit is disrupted or in counter-attack stance. So no, we cannot do that. So I think we're kind of screwed actually. The best I'm going to get is I could get into that hex or probably that hex. The other thing don't bother about that now. So are any of them any good? Are they any more beneficial? Not really, are they? Because it's only stretching out 2. It does mean that this is not going to be in command, which means all Battalion 323 is not going to be in command. Now, what we think happens there is that he can still move himself, and I want to see any units that were stacked with him from his battalion could maybe be given a move. I might have this wrong though, because he's not in command, is he? I'm going to double check all that. I was just talking about the fact that I felt like I'd got that now, but when things are out of command, maybe not. So, well, you know what? I suppose I'm better moving it. I'll just move it into here, right? We'll move it into there. And let's just turn that around, and that's it. Right, we've done all that. We're not fussed about anything else in there. Well, to be honest, you could have moved either one of the AHQs, but it was really to try and get closer to that. So I think I'll just leave them where they are. No, maybe should I move this one? Maybe. This would cost an action to move, but I could have moved that. But they got a range of 3. So I mean 1, 2. Yeah, that's from 3rd. They're all from 3rd Battalion. This one's from 2nd. I mean, you can stretch up and reach that. Yeah, I'm just going to leave them where they are, because this is taking... Yeah, that's going a bit too far, I think. Right, so I think I'm pretty sure I'm just going to remove disruption from all of this. Yeah, I think so. I don't even know what's all in this. Now the stack underneath is already disrupted, so I can't remove it from that by the looks. Right, so over this side, there's the 8th. Okay, I was hunting about for 2nd Battalion, 8th Regiment, but he's down the bottom of there, he's moved. So 3 8s within 2, 2 8s obviously within 2, and 1 8's within 2. I'm just going to leave that guy there as well. And I'm just going to remove disruption from that. So that was reduced, right? That one was quite clear. So I'm going to put him down the bottom. And then, well, we're not moving that anyway, so we'll just leave that like that. Right, let's get this finished. Yeah, I'm not going to muck about. I'm just getting disruption off of these guys. Okay, there's possible preservation moves. Well, actually, I don't think there is there? Because they need to be adjacent to a... well, that one's in a beach hex. That one could move, but I think taking the disruption off is fine. I'm just going to do that. And this one can remove its disruption too. That one can't. That was the one that was on CC. And obviously was disrupted within. Well, there's another one in there. Right, and then that's probably the last thing we need to look at is that regimental HQ. And do we want it there? Well, that's the 6th Regiment. So where's the headquarters? There's 2nd Battalion headquarters, 1st Battalion headquarters, both within 2. Now there should be a 3rd Battalion headquarters. I think he's in here. Yeah, because that's the one we moved in. Which, I'm starting to wonder if we were allowed to do that then. I'm not sure if that's classed as movement under fire or not, right? So, to be honest, that's in range, that's in range. That one's just 1 out of range. So, I think I'll allow myself just to move that into there, right? And that keeps everything in range. Nothing more I can see disrupted, well, apart from units that have been disrupted in my action phase. Yes, there was probably some other moves I could make, but yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's, you know, a part of me wants to carry on playing this. Part of me wants to wait on Joe's answers, but I get the feeling I then want to start again. But I don't really want to start again, to be honest. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Again, I'm going to sleep on it, but I'm either going to have to force myself into doing something, because when I get free time, I'm going to come up here and then I'm going to, yeah, probably just start moving counters a bit again. Okay, I'm going to tidy up everything there, all the units, and then we'll call this a day, I think. I'll just jump in there quick. While I was taking them away, I was removing the LVTs, because they get removed at the end of this turn. I think we'd established that, well, going by where we think the line is, we had 20 points, didn't we? That seems like an awful lot, to be honest, but I don't really know how we could decide otherwise. Again, that's one of the questions that has been asked. Well, got a double barrel question just to make sure that we are at the right line, and to make sure, you know, can you continue if you only get 15 points, or do you actually need the 24? That's another reason to sort of maybe quit. If it comes back and he tells me I need 24, then we need to be more aggressive. What could well possibly be the case, because I was 20 points there, which isn't far short of it. But I'm pretty damn sure he's going to tell us that it's this line and not that line up the back. Anyway, I'm going to take this away, so because it's going to go away, but it was one of my points, and I think there might be one somewhere else. But we've counted the points, we've got 20 points, so I don't think we need to really know any more than that. So I'll carry on tidying things up here. Okay, that's everything tidied up. I think I've removed all the LVTs as well. So a few things to look at before we kick into part 5, game turn 5, if we do. I kind of hope so. I kind of want to, but I don't know. Seeing all the units all spread out, I was saying that to Martin, the fact that this, with these victory conditions about spreading all your unit, it doesn't seem that realistic. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so there's a few things to look up before we actually kick into game turn 5. A few change ups. I'd also like to find out about if these reserves should be here. I mean, the 2 that we've drawn out the cup already, probably just going to have to accept that they're there, but we might find out that the other ones are randomly placed somewhere, and I could probably drag them out the cup and place them, but it depends how quick Joe comes back with the answers. I wouldn't expect him to come back in the next day, but yeah, well, maybe. Depends if he's got free time, then he'll maybe sit down and get through them all, and we can push on. Right, I'll cut this just now. I'll put this together with the other half. Oh, there's another position there. That'll not be in communication though. So, right, there's another one there, Grant. Why are we seeing them all now? Ah, you know why? Was there LVTs? There was an LVT in that one. Maybe there was an LVT in that one as well. Is that in communication? No, it won't be as well, so I think we're okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'll wrap up for now, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I say that a lot just now. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we will. Okay, cheers, guys.